Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. We are looking at a situation that has the entire world on edge right now. The intensifying standoff between the United States and Iran. With military operations moving into place, diplomats scrambling behind the scenes, and global markets holding their collective breath, the Middle East is under incredibly intense scrutiny. So we're going to look past the daily headlines and break down exactly what the source material tells us is happening on the ground, why it matters to you, and where this whole thing goes next.
To really understand the stakes, we have to look at this direct quote from the source material. Even a single miscalculation could lead to a much larger regional crisis. And honestly, that hit the nail on the head. That is the absolute reality on the ground right now. Every single military movement, every official statement, it's all being monitored in real time by intelligence agencies and financial markets worldwide. Why? Because in an environment this tense, a tiny, seemingly insignificant error can trigger a massive domino effect. So to make sense of this, we're going to trace this crisis through 5 key areas. Number 1, the current standoff. 2, the geography of global oil. 3, the new modern battlefield. 4, the global economic ripple. And finally, number 5, scenarios for the future. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the current standoff, and the decades of rivalry behind it. What's really fascinating here is how the source material neutrally lays out these two completely rigid, opposing viewpoints that define this stalemate. On one side, the U.S. insists its military operations, we're talking naval patrols and air-based deployments, are strictly defensive. They state the goal is simply protecting American personnel, regional allies, and international shipping. But on the other side, Iran vehemently condemns these actions. Their official stance is a stark warning that any added military pressure is going to be met with a direct response. It's a classic, high-stakes diplomatic deadlock. Moving right along to Section 2, the geography of global oil, which is really the strategic center of this entire conflict. You see, it all comes down to geography. The Persian Gulf remains one of the most critical strategic choke points on the planet. We're talking millions of barrels of oil transiting this narrow, highly contested waterway every single day, heading out to Asia, Europe, and North America. So a threat to shipping here, it isn't just some localized geopolitical issue. It is a very real, immediate threat to the energy lifeblood of the entire global economy. Which brings us to part 3, the new modern battlefield, and how warfare is rapidly evolving. Now, to level the playing field against a massive traditional military force like the US, Iran relies heavily on what are called asymmetric military strategies. Basically, this means it's not about matching your adversary's ship for ship or tank for tank. Instead, it's about deploying creative, unconventional systems that actively complicate and disrupt a technologically advanced opponent's operations. It's like a giant high-stakes game of chess where one player is deliberately changing the rules. Because, let's be real, warfare here has shifted heavily toward technology. We're looking at cyber capabilities, satellite surveillance, precision missiles, electronic warfare, and sophisticated air defense systems. But the true game changer? Advanced drones. Drones allow state militaries and regional groups to project immense power, gather deep intelligence, and execute highly precise strikes. And they can do all of this at a fraction of the cost of traditional air power, with literally zero risk to their own pilots. Now, to counter this, regional powers are pouring billions, with a B, into incredibly sophisticated radar networks and interceptor missiles. But think about the pure economics of this for military planners. It creates a massive paradox. You are suddenly forced to use a multi-million-dollar interceptor missile to shoot down a drone that maybe cost a few $1,000s to build. And the big question is, can these incredibly complex and expensive defensive systems actually hold up against a rapid, overwhelming swarm of cheap tech? And that economic angle leads us perfectly into Section 4, the global economic ripple, taking us straight from the Gulf to your grocery store. The source material brilliantly illustrates this chain reaction, and it is swift and brutal. Step 1, you have increased military tensions. That immediately forces shipping companies into Step 2, rerouting their vessels and dealing with skyrocketing insurance premiums. Those delays and added costs, they trigger Step 3, rising global oil prices. And ultimately, in Step 4, that energy premium bleeds right into global inflation, driving up the cost of manufacturing, transport, and the food at your local grocery store. The absolute biggest driver behind this entire cascade is uncertainty. Energy markets are just notoriously jittery by nature. Investors are reacting to news headlines in real time, sending these shockwaves all the way from the stock exchanges down to shipping manifests. What we're seeing is that global economic resilience is being stress-tested right alongside military strength.
So, where does this all lead? Let's hit our final section, Part 5 Scenarios for the Future and What Happens Next.
In an incredibly fluid environment like this, analysts are basically tracking three main trajectories. First, diplomatic success effectively de-escalates the crisis. Second, we see a continuation of limited tit-for-tat military exchanges that somehow manage to stay just below the threshold of all-out war. Or third, and this is the scenario absolutely everyone wants to avoid, a broader escalation that actively draws in multiple countries across the entire region. Now, despite all the intense military posturing we've covered, the consensus remains that diplomacy is still the most effective off-ramp. Officials and international organizations are frantically working back channels right now. They know that maintaining these communication lines, no matter how strained or difficult they might be, is really the only viable way to cap regional instability and shield the global economy from a total shock. Which leaves us with one massive, critical question to ponder. Can diplomatic negotiations actually outpace the blinding speed of modern military escalation? With swarms of drones flying, billions of dollars invested in defense, and the entire global economy hanging in the balance, it is literally a race against time. The decisions made in the coming days are going to do more than just shape the Middle East. They are going to reshape global security. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will see you next time.